Fox 59 is your local election headquarters, and last night Republicans here in Indiana saw several big wins, but nationally they did not flip as many congressional seats as they'd hoped across the country.
Fox 59's Kristen Eskow has a recap of this year's election.
Indiana Republicans winning the statewide races on the ballot this year and maintaining the GOP supermajority in both chambers of the Indiana legislature. The results, though, are different from those seen nationwide.
At the top of the ticket, Republican Senator Todd Young defeats Democratic challenger Tom McDermott, securing another 6 years in the Senate.
We need to make sure that we work to pass spending bills, or so-called appropriations bills, consistent with that budget. And all of that is in furtherance of trying to get spending under control.
Indiana's congressional delegation will hold at 7 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Republicans also saw success in the statewide races, Auditor, Treasurer, and Secretary of State, with Diego Morales prevailing over Democrat Destiny Wells, despite criticism his candidacy faced on several issues.
I will work as hard as I've been doing to make all of you proud and take this office, the legacy of all Secretaries of State, to the next level.
The GOP held its supermajority at the State House and appears to have picked up some seats in the legislature. Experts say the results aren't a surprise.
The elections in many places in Indiana are, in some sense, a foregone conclusion.
Stephen Webster teaches political science at Indiana University.
This is part of a broader trend as well, where people care more about the party that represents them than the person.
Martin Sweet of Purdue University says last year's redistricting made many seats less competitive.
When state legislatures craft their new districts, they typically protect incumbents.
Sweet says that may help explain why Republicans didn't pick up as many congressional seats nationwide as they had hoped for.
I think right now Republicans are probably pretty upset with Donald Trump, right? The candidates that he selected around the country fared quite poorly, and so one would think that had he not meddled in the process in the primary, that perhaps Republicans could have had bigger gains.
There are a few close state house races that may come down to a recount, but the final results from those races wouldn't affect the balance of power here at the State House. At the State House, Kristen Eskow, Fox 59 News.
Okay, Kristen, thank you so much. Turning to those races at the national level right now, where Republicans are still looking to regain control of Congress after 2 years of Democratic majorities in the House and the Senate. Right now, Republicans control 207 seats in the House of Representatives. They need to get to 218 to have a majority and assert their agenda here in the upcoming term. Democrats have lost a few seats this time around, but there are still 45 seats left to be called here, a number of races still to be decided, so it still hangs in the balance. The Republicans appear to have an edge in controlling the House. Meantime, in the Senate, different story. Could still end up being 50-50 by the time it's said and done. Right now, Republicans have won 48 seats, Democrats 46. Republicans would need 51 for a majority. Democrats could still have the majority if it's a 50-50 tie. Last check, 31 seats out of the 35 up for election had been called by the Associated Press. It could again all come down to a runoff here in Georgia, as Burchell is here to tell us about now.
Yeah, we're looking at this key Senate race here in Georgia, now headed for a runoff election. Democratic incumbent Raphael Warnock is up against Republican opponent Herschel Walker, and now they will see that race just last a few more weeks. Warnock narrowly leads Walker with more than 99% of the votes counted, but he hasn't reached that 50% threshold needed to avoid a runoff. Voters say while they aren't happy about another election, they aren't surprised either.
I have to say I'm not too surprised. I don't think that people came out to the polls in the same ways that they did the last time.
I hope the results come in and we don't have to have a runoff, because I am over all the ads. But no matter what the results are, I just hope we can all work together in Washington and here in Georgia and just get along.
And so now we've since learned there will be a runoff. Warnock and Walker will now advance to a December 6th runoff election that will determine who will go to Washington next year and also likely determine who maintains power in the Senate.